I have been meeting a lot of startups throughout today at Kerala Startup Mission. I think the entire initiative is really, really wonderful. I would talk, in the next 30 minutes, I'll talk about entrepreneurship, funding, and a lot of other things. But before I do all of that, good that Shrikant started with a rather personal story. That I used to weigh 80 kg. On 8th of March 2019, I started a diet plan, and in less than 2 months, I have lost almost 12.5 kg. So, how is that connected to entrepreneurship? There are 3 things which are connected and very, very important, and I would like to bring that up. When you become an entrepreneur and you try and build a startup, there are a lot of things which we talk about, we listen from media houses, how to raise funding, how to get a lot of clients, how to do a lot of good stuff. But the most important thing, there are 3 parameters which all of us have to keep with us when you become an entrepreneur. Number 1, passion. Are you really passionate about what you're doing? Number 2, discipline. Do you have the discipline so that you can drive your team? And number 3 is, there are a lot of things, but I think one of the most important thing along with passion and discipline is that how determined you are. Do you really want to go to the next level? Do you want to push yourself every single day? Because when you work in a corporate environment, while it's a lot of challenge to work in a really large organization, still things are very, very structured. You have a finance team, you have a HR team, you have multiple departments which take care of each and everything. But when you become an entrepreneur, you also become the CEO of the company. Chief Everything Officer. A couple of years ago, I was meeting a successful entrepreneur and he said, I'm really proud to be a CEO. I said, wow, that's really good, but I think that's not uncommon. Everyone is a CEO who's a founder of a company. He said, no, Ravi, you don't understand. I'm a Chief Everything Officer, which means that when I started my company, I used to go and open my office. If the peon has not come, I have to clean it because my client is coming for a meeting. And I also have to get the tea and coffee. I have to go to the bank to open the bank account. And I have to do every single thing. Today, I have 2,000 employees. We have millions of dollars of revenues coming in. And I'm now a Chief Executive Officer. But if you build a startup and you think that everything is going to come and fall in place, it's not going to happen. So that was a quick story. I would now like to bring your attention to this picture here. Can you guys see this? This is a news story published in Times of India. There is a vacancy in the police department. 62 people are supposed to be hired for a post of messenger, which means that you need to get the official post and just deliver it from one police station to another police station. And the eligibility for this job is class 5. Along with that, you need to sign a declaration saying that I know how to ride a bicycle. And you know what happened? This. More than 78,000 graduates applied for a job which requires you to be a class 5 student. Along with that, 3.7 thousand PhD. Successful PhD holders applied for this job. What does it mean? Is it alarming? Is it something which we should worry about? Kerala, 93.94% literacy. India as an entire nation has 74% literacy. When I was in school, one thing which we knew about Kerala, 2 things. Kerala, a really, really beautiful place. Monsoon starts from Kerala because I'm from Jharkhand, it's really hot. So we keep praying that, monsoon should start from Kerala so that in a few weeks we'll get the rains coming in. And second, that one of the most literate state in the country. Almost everyone is graduate, almost everyone can speak English, and people are very, very entrepreneurial. These were the 2 things which when I was growing up, I used to listen about. However, when you go back to numbers today, across the country, every single state has one of the biggest problems. There are very few jobs. Every single year, millions of people are graduating from BTech. And you know what? Look at these problems all across in various demography, various verticals. Clean tech, sanitation, healthcare, fintech. I mean, these are terminologies which are used by the millennial generation. But let's say the road is dirty. People are dying because there is no bed in the hospital. There is dengue epidemic happening in multiple states. Can we solve these problems? While solving it, can we create jobs? And while creating jobs, can we contribute to the growth of our country? I think, in a nutshell, I believe that is entrepreneurship requirement for today. That is how we need to build startups for today's India, or rather, today's Bharat. So I would take it from here, and I will talk very quickly about entrepreneurship. Have you guys seen this movie, A Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy? A wonderful movie, you know. It talks, I would not give you the plot. I just saw Avengers last night. I can give you spoilers as well, but I'm not going to give you spoilers for both the movie. But I'm going to talk about what is entrepreneurship, what's happening across the world, what's happening in India, and if you are a startup, how can you grow to the next level? My name is Ravi Ranjan, and for the last 10 years, I have been working with startup ecosystem in the country. I worked with some really amazing companies. I was with Indian Angel Network, which is one of the largest angel network from the country. I worked with a couple of more companies. I was in Hong Kong, then Mumbai, Pune. Then I was with an organization called NASSCOM, and within NASSCOM, there's an initiative called 10,000 Startups. So I was initially looking after East and Northeast India, and then I moved to Bangalore, and I got a chance to work with some amazing people like Vijeta here, Sarvana, and a lot of other people. I spent 3 years at NASSCOM, and I was really happy to work with entrepreneurs, companies, government almost on a day-to-day basis. However, after spending almost 10 years in corporate various organizations, I decided that I preach entrepreneurship every day. Even on my profile, I call myself an entrepreneurship evangelist. And it would be unfair if I don't become an entrepreneur myself. It's like that coach who trains every single person, but he has never played a tournament. So that was the time when I decided, okay, I will go and try and do something. But there's a very interesting story. So if you look at my profile, it looks like I've done some okay type work, right? But it was very difficult when I was growing up. I was growing up in a really small village in Jharkhand, and I remember we used to get electricity once in 6 months. So I have spent my entire childhood and I've done all my homework in kerosene lamp and lalten. And the place I was growing up, it's a small village called Japla in Palamu. It was the highest Naxal affected area in the country. So every single morning when I wake up, the news which I listen is bomb blast, landmines, terrorism, and all those problems. Now, I think that was one of the motivation which pushed me towards entrepreneurship, because I was looking at the current politicians at that time. I was looking at the industry. I was looking at people, but no one was solving the problem. And I wanted to ask everyone why no one is doing anything about it. But then I realized when I was kind of growing up that no one's really bothered about your problems. It's you who have to take a stance, and it's you who have to go and solve a problem. And that is why, if you look at the world today, some of the biggest problems, right from a disease like cancer, a disease like hepatitis, or commuting, taking a flight, going in an Uber, all of them are solved by entrepreneurs. Because some of the biggest problems sometimes cannot be solved by the organized system. Entrepreneurs have to come in the picture, and they have to solve it. What are we going to do, all of us sitting in this room today, to make this world a better place? Again, a very, very overused terms, making a world a better place. If you sell t-shirts online, are you making a world a better place? Not really, but I mean, come on, it's a really good initiative. But let's go ahead and try and see what can we do to make this world a better place by being an entrepreneur. And before I do that, I would like to definitely talk about this point that when someone comes, I mean, a lot of you are young people. I'm sure some of you recently graduated. Remember, a teacher come to the class and say, do something great, think out of the box, do innovative. But how do I do it? I mean, I'm just a normal student struggling to get good mark just to pass this semester, and you ask me to become an innovator. I can't do it. I'm just a normal person. And I don't think a normal person can do a lot of work. A lot of people think like that. But I want to show you some examples of some really amazing companies where the founding team, people who started the companies, not more than 2 or 3 people were there in the team. But today, all these companies are doing some outstanding work. All right, these are some of my most favorite companies in the world. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about these companies. MailChimp, Gojek, What 3 Words, Palantir, Airwood, Intercom, and a lot of them. Why are these companies here? 2 reasons. Number 1, all of these companies were started by 1 or 2 people. Number 2, all of these companies are today solving some of the biggest problems on this planet. How are they doing it? Number 1, MailChimp. It's an email software where you can send email. How difficult is that? I'll just use Gmail or Hotmail. But when you run a business and you have to send 1 million emails every single day, you cannot do that. You need an automated emails client to help you do that. MailChimp started with the same and simple problem, and they solved it in such a way that today it's one of the most popular email solution in the world, and people on MailChimp send more than 10 billion emails every single month, which is helping billions of dollars of transactions on multiple e-commerce websites every single day. Number two, a small island country called Indonesia. Lot of problems. Connectivity is a big issue. Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia, is one of the most polluted and most populated country. Navigating within the city is so difficult. And there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of challenges. Everyone keeps talking about problems, right? But the person who talks about solution, he is an entrepreneur, he's an innovator. A young guy realized the problem and also realized the potential that if I bring young people together, I can solve a big problem. Today, Gojek has millions of riders who have a bike and they deliver food, they deliver grocery, they deliver parcels and packets every single day. It's a really, really large company. They have raised a lot of money, but the biggest thing which they have done, they have created millions of jobs in Indonesia, and it's one of the largest and fastest growing company in the world. A lot of other companies, but one company which I want to talk about is Palantir. One of the most advanced data sciences company in the world, and very few people know about it because they don't really believe in a lot of media branding. However, this $41 billion startup, one of the biggest achievements which they have is that their software was used to hunt down Osama bin Laden. After 9/11, Peter Thiel, who's a very famous entrepreneur and investor in companies like Facebook and others, he said that I want to build a technology so that another 9/11 should not happen. They have a software called Gotham. Using this software, CIA, FBI, and all the other forces tracked down Osama bin Laden, and they had a probability of 68% that this house in Abbottabad, Pakistan, might be hosting Osama bin Laden, and they were correct about it. Now, these are some really, really small but some really big problems which these startups are solving. So, having said that and coming back to the same question, can you make change to this world just by being one person? I believe you can. And there are a lot of stories and a lot of examples about that. Moving on, when we talk about entrepreneurship, you need to understand there were a lot of terminologies being thrown around in the room when Sarona was interacting. I've never been to MBA college, never had the privilege, never had the marks, never had the money to pay the fees, never got to any technical college. Again, very, very difficult. But fortunately, now I get a chance to speak at all the colleges. I've spoken to now more than 75,000 students across India, IITs, IIMs, all the other colleges. I have also been training teachers and faculties and HODs on entrepreneurship. And one thing which I realize, I mean, I really don't want to say this, but it's true. So it's truth, so I would not hesitate. Our education system does not have scope and does not give scope for innovation. We are trained and told that these are the rules, you follow them. If you do not, you are not part of the society, you will not be accepted. And a very interesting survey done by Boston University. The survey follows gold medalists of the class, the toppers, the valedictorians. This survey interviewed a lot of gold medals and toppers, and the result was very alarming and very interesting. Almost all these people who finished their program with a gold medal and topper of the class, they become successful people. They got really good jobs. But none of them actually tried to change the world. None of them actually went to solve problems. And on an average, all the American millionaires, they have a CGPA less than 2.5, which means that they are below average student. You know why? And I'm quoting this study. You can actually go online and search about it. Our current education system across the world does not promote innovation. It asks you to follow certain rules. It rewards you to be disciplined, and that is something which intellectuals and innovative people cannot cope up with. And that is why you'll see a lot of people have maybe not finished programs, or even if they went to a program, they were not very successful. Again, not asking anyone or encouraging anyone to not pursue a program or not demeaning any person who has graduated, but that's a reality. So what's happening? There are a lot of mobile brands, Apple, Samsung, so many companies, but this one small startup came and disrupted the way mobile phones are designed across the world. The company is called Xiaomi, or we call it MI, one of the fastest growing brand in the world and the #1 smartphone brand in India. What did they do unique? They just took a simple pain point that people want really high-end features at an affordable pricing. And that's what they did. And the number 2 thing which they did, they introduced a new marketing innovation called flash sale. They partnered with Flipkart in 2014, yes, and they started launching their first phone, Redmi 3S or 2S, I don't remember the brand name. What happened is that people wanted to get this phone because this phone was designed by geeks who understand technology and for people who know and want to get technology. People were waiting online at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday to book a phone, and the phone went away in less than 3 seconds. What happened? There was a hype created. And recently, Xiaomi launched another phone called Redmi Note 7 Pro. It's priced at 17,000 rupees, and people are dying to get that phone. The phone goes away in 3 seconds. Again, these 3 people, really, really amazing story. And there are 2 things which is common between all these 3 success stories. Number 1, none of them had a very, very fancy and elite degree. Number 2, all of them looked at a really big problem and tried to solve it, and they got success. The first one, this young kid, he was 3 years old when he started playing with toys. What's unique about it? Everyone plays with toys, right? But the toys which his dad was supposed to buy was very expensive. I remember when I was growing up, we used to play cricket, and there was a Costco ball which used to cost 15 rupees. We used to contribute 1 rupee each to get a new ball. And today I go to airport, I look at stores like Hamleys, and a normal simple toy is 5,000 rupees, right? I mean, that's crazy. You go to US, it's really, really expensive. So what happens is that this young kid, Ryan, his dad realized that toys are super expensive, and a lot of fathers and parents across the world would like to know if a toy is really good for my kid or not. You know what they did? They got a camera like this, and they started shooting videos of Ryan playing with toys. Not innovative, not unique. But you know what happened? In just few months, people started watching these videos online, and it became popular. So popular that in 2018, there are thousands of YouTubers across the world who make a lot of money. But the highest paid channel for 2018 on YouTube was Ryan Toys Review, which made, you know how much? $28 million. He's 6.5-year-old. Number 2, Choo Choo TV. A young parent in Chennai, like any other father in India, he loved his daughter. And his daughter was growing every single day. And she was going online, watching nursery rhymes and jingles and music videos. But then this father realized that the content is not really good. And he loved his daughter so much that he left his job, and he got a couple of his friends together, and they started making content. One of their video called Johnny Johnny Yes Papa has got more than 1.4 billion views on YouTube. Currently, Choo Choo TV is the world's most watched kids channel on YouTube. And they make somewhere between 30 to 40 crore rupees a month. It's a child's play. Number 3, I was working with a company called Indian Angel Network, as I mentioned, and every 3rd Saturday of the month, we used to host a pitching session where people come and they pitch to raise funding. Typically, you see, I'm talking about 2013, 2012 actually, people usually come wearing suit, very fancy, posh, 35, 40-year-old, graduated, worked for a long time. That was the usual crowd. And suddenly one day, I was just working, sending an email, and saw a young kid wearing a denim, carrying a backpack, 16.5-year-old. He came to pitch his idea. I was really curious. I was like, what is this guy doing here? And I wanted to talk to him, but he was going for a pitch, so I did not disturb him. He came back. And then after that, I spoke to him. I said, what are you trying to do? He said, I'm trying to do this and that. But unfortunately, people are not able to understand, and I did not get money today. I did not get the funding. And then he also spoke that he spent all his money, which his dad has given him to pay the college fees, in getting the website made. And now he does not have the money to pay his rent. I think the rent was around 10,000 rupees a month. But he kept hustling every single day. So much so that today that company is the largest hotel provider in Southeast Asia, and they have launched across various countries outside Southeast Asia. The current valuation of the company is more than $5 billion. And this entrepreneur has a personal net worth of close to 4,000 crores. Imagine, he was 16 and a half, he could not pay 10,000 rupees rent. Today he is close to being a billionaire. His name is Ritesh Agarwal, and he's the founder of Oyo Rooms. He's now 24 years old. So what happened? Three people, three really, really amazing problems, but the way they solve these problems is what made them really successful. So what's happening? Why they suddenly Kerala Startup Mission? I mean, Kerala is known for tourism, God's own country, beautiful place. I've been to Kochi, Munnar, I've been to Alapi. But what's happening? Why government is so much active in promoting entrepreneurship here in this state? Why states across the country are doing it? Why India as a country has launched Startup India? Because of this. India is set to be the second largest startup ecosystem in the world by 2019. We are already number 3 country in the world. In 2017, this is the data by NASSCOM, there are more than 6,000 tech startups in India. That's only tech. I'm not talking about non-tech. There are a lot of startups. In 2017, all the startups together raised more than $13.7 billion. And the most interesting thing, by 2020, these startups are going to create more than 1.8 million jobs. That is an amazing thing which Indian startups are doing. Very quickly, I would just like to touch base on Indian unicorn, because when we talk about unicorn, it's a private company which is valued at $1 billion. China and US are really big. But if you look at India, we have some really amazing story. What happened? A lot of companies, you can see the names here, right? From Flipkart to Zeta to Byju's, all of them became unicorn in 2017. But this is more interesting. In 2018, we got 6 new companies who joined the unicorn club, and one of the startup is really unique story. This company started and it became a unicorn in less than 3 years. It's called Udaan. How many of you have heard about this company? 2, 3 of you. I would really recommend all of you to go and get a look at Udaan. It's a B2B platform where businesses can buy and sell products online. But the way it has grown, it has become a unicorn in less than 3 years. That's a wonderful story. Now, when we talk about innovation, there are a lot of things which we can talk about. But I personally believe that innovation is finding a really big problem and get a very simple solution to solve it. But it's very complicated to define what innovation is and how it should look like. So I have a couple of startups which I really, really like, and I would really love to show it to you. The first one, a company called Zipline. A lot of people across Africa die every single day because they are suffering from malaria and other disease, and they do not get blood in time when they require it. Is going to be one of the first city in the world where the clean drinking water would not be available. The city will become a complete drought place, and it's going to happen in India as well, because the way we are exploiting the groundwater is very difficult. And it's a big problem, but no one's doing anything about it. However, this very unique company called Zero Mass Water, they have created a panel which you can install on your rooftop, and it also has an integrated solar panel. So by the end of the day, you get 7 liters of clean drinking water from the atmosphere without using or touching the groundwater. Imagine if all of us look at sustainability, and if all of us install this device on our roof, we'll be able to save a lot of groundwater. Number 3, a lot of people today are suffering from cancer, and these people don't smoke, these people don't drink. So what's happening? A lot of it is happening thanks to the carcinogenic food which we are eating. All the food is laced with pesticides and herbicides. And farmers have no option because that's how the ecosystem is kind of designed. However, this company called Blue River Tech used computer vision to reduce the usage of herbicide by 90%, which makes our food safe. The next company is Tom's. They make shoes and they sell it online. What's unique about it? So many people do it. But every single time when you buy a pair of shoes on Tom's, they donate another pair of shoe to a kid who has never seen shoe in his life. In last 10 years, they have donated more than 1 million shoes across the world. The next company, from a small place in Bihar, Husk Power. But what's unique about it is the most innovative company in the world. Recently, they got a funding of $25 million from Shell Foundation. Husk Power make electricity from rice husk, and they distribute it in villages where people have never seen electricity before. Do you think that's innovation? That is real innovation, where you solve a problem so important that it impacts every single person in the society. And last but not the least, a company called Paperfuge. Do you remember this device? I remember we used to play. You just pull it around, it makes a sound, it's really nice. A young Indian who's studying at MIT took this same thousands-year-old technology to create a device called paperfuge, which cost less than 30 rupees. Using this device, you can actually do blood diagnostic, and you can figure out if a person is suffering from HIV, malaria, or any other disease. Imagine, 30 rupees, and you can save billions of lives across the world. That is innovation. All right? Now, a lot of you have a startup, and I'm sure you would like to raise funding. Should I go ahead and continue, or we can go and watch some other videos? All right. So I'll very quickly talk about startup funding. So I'm also representing a really large angel network from India. One of the largest is called Venture Catalyst. We have invested in more than 73 startups, almost 800 crores. Before that, I used to work with Indian Angel Network. So I've got a little experience of how the funding works. So I'll try and concise all of that together. Everyone talks about it. Let's see how it really works. But before I do that, it's a very simple picture, which I really love. It's from an infographic website called Funders and Founders. It talks about how to build a startup. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, right? So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm going to skip to the next slide. What skills are required when you are looking to build a team? How many of you are single founder? 1, 2, 3. All of you are, you should definitely watch this slide. So these are the skills which you need to make a really, really amazing startup team. This is the skill. What is it? What does this mean? Avengers, they are very, very powerful. But if they do not work together, it's not good. Be it Thor, be it Hulk, be it Captain Marvel, no matter how strong they are, they cannot beat Thanos unless they come together. And that's exactly how a startup team works. If you're a really, really good coder, you can build the best of the application, best of the platform. If you do not have a person who can sell it, very difficult. If you're a really good marketing person, but if you don't have a platform, what will you do? You don't have a person who understands finances. You'll have a lot of money, but they'll keep bleeding every single day. So it is very important to get like-minded people who have various skills together as part of a team. That is a very simple but very important thing. When you go to raise fund, while your idea is very important, but trust me, more than 90% of investors look at your team. How strong your team is. Is your team complementing each other in terms of their skill? If yes, then it's a go-ahead for them. Again, very, very important, and I cannot emphasize more on that. Don't build your startup because government is giving you a grant. I have seen people who are from a different state, but they move all the way to South India because one of the states in South India is offering 10 lakh rupees grant. And they also move to another state because they are now giving 15 lakh rupees grant for R&D. And then they'll go all the way to Middle East or Finland or Berlin because they're also giving them money. And I've actually heard people talking about, I have a business plan, I need this much money. I said, wow, that's really good. Do you have a prototype? They're like, no, I need money to build it, right? No, it doesn't work like that. Investors they're not going to give you money because you need to make a prototype. They will give you money because you have been able to solve a problem with a great team and you're now scaling up. That is where they want to come in, give you money so that you can go to the next level. So don't build your company because investors are there. You cannot expect them to give you money to build your company, make prototype, go and do market validation and launch it. You need to do all of them on your own. But having said that, sometimes it might be challenging that you do not have enough money to do even all of this. A lot of young students, people who have recently quit their job, is difficult. So I have a solution for that as well. Let's see, how can we do that? How can you reach till one level where you can actually raise money from angel investors and VCs? This is how you can do it. Number 1, bootstrap and grow with time. Number 2, you can raise money from friends, family, and others. Number 3, you can make magical products. What is it? Let's see. Number 1, bootstrapping. These are some of the really, really amazing companies I really admire. Fusion Charts by Pallav. He's an entrepreneur from Kolkata, currently in Bangalore. He made Fusion Charts, which makes beautiful charts from JavaScript. It's used by White House, Apple, and some of the biggest companies, and they have never raised any funding. And they are the biggest company in their space. A company from down south, Zoho, built a really wonderful company without raising funding. Media.net, Div and Bhavin Turakia, They sold their company recently to a Chinese investor group for almost $1 billion without raising any capital. And last but not least, Spanx, a very wonderful story. A young woman entrepreneur based out of California. She used to sell fax machine. She was a sales lady. So she used to wear business clothing and go outside to sell it. But it was super hot sometimes. Sometimes it's really cold. And she's not confident about her body. She realized that's a problem with a lot of women across the world. She had around $5,000 with her. She put all of that money to make shapewear, which you can wear it beneath your clothes, which will give you confidence. She had no idea what's going to happen. But today, Spanx is the biggest company in the world in terms of shapewear. These are some of the amazing examples of how people bootstrapped with their money, and one of the most important investor. He's the best investor, he or she. That's your customer. There's no better investor than your customer. If you're able to build a business model where you can get money from beginning, I think you are there for a win. However, not everyone is so lucky. So what can you do? You can raise money from friends, family, and others. Now, you have a lot of friends, you have people who believe in you. They might give you a small assistance before you go and raise the next round of funding. However, if you are not able to do that, there are options like Nidhi EIR program by Government of India. How many of you are BTech? Or how many of you are BTech? Anyone? Couple of you, right? All of you are eligible to get a monthly stipend of up to 40,000 rupees every month. If you apply to an incubation program where they have Nidhi EIR, you can actually get that right away. Number two, you can look at Startup India, Stand Up India scheme, multiple options available there. You can look at accelerator programs like Y Combinator and Techstars. There are a lot of examples where Y Combinator has selected ideas at an early stage because it's really good, and they give you $100,000 to start with. Last but not the least, you can apply for a lot of business plan competitions across the country. IIT Mumbai organizes Eureka every year, where you can get 15 lakh rupees, actually 25 lakh rupees, with a pitch in less than 15 minutes. So these are some options, alternatives, which you can use to reach to the next level. And last but very important, crowdfunding. Again, if you're building a product company, let's say you're building a smartwatch, it's very unique, very easy to get funding from crowdfunding platforms. You can use all of them, Wishberry, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Kitto. And this is what called building a magical product. A 17-year-old kid who lives in the United States, he realized that the future of technology is going to change at a very fast pace. In his home, with the small money from his dad, he built a small device, but it was so amazing that Facebook acquired that company, bought that company for $2 billion, and they had built just one prototype. It's called Oculus. A young 17-year-old kid built a magical product which no one else in the world could that time, and he got that money. If you're able to do something like that, go ahead. There are people waiting with check, waiting with cash to give you and acquire your technology. Number one, Magic Leap. This company has raised almost millions, close to billions of dollars, and they do not have a product even till today. You know why? Sarvana was talking about if a company does not make money, it does not make sense. While it's very, very true, however, there are few technologies which are so futuristic that you cannot have a revenue model for today. Examples? Twitter, LinkedIn, Quora. Do you think they are good companies? I love them. Do they have a revenue model? Some of them have today, but they never had a revenue model when they started, because the idea was not to make money. It was to solve a problem. Magic Leap is building a very, very interesting augmented reality platform which the world cannot even think about. And that is why people are putting money, dollars after dollars, millions after millions. So let's say you are able to do all of that. After that, you have to raise money. You can go ahead and apply for angel investment opportunities. There are a lot of angel investment networks in the country. As I mentioned, I represent Venture Catalyst. We invest almost somewhere between 4 to 5 companies every single month. We are present across the country, and we are doing some great work. That's the company which I'm representing, but there are a lot of other angel networks across the country and outside. You can look at any of them and raise money from them. There are venture capital funds which are available, but you will only be able to be eligible for that once you are at a certain stage where you have growth coming in, you have a lot of paid users, you have a lot of revenue. And you can do a lot of, you can raise a lot of capital, but you need to build a product which people want and product which has a huge scale. If you can do that, funding is there, you don't need to worry about it. So I want to say a lot of other things, but we don't have a lot of time. I would very quickly talk about what I'm doing currently after leaving NASSCOM. I run a small advisory called Starting Up with Ravi Ranjan, where I work with government, colleges, corporates, and startups, and I try and help them with building solutions which are really, really scalable. I try and help colleges set up incubation center. I try and work with government to promote the ecosystem. And I believe, I believe in this fact from the time when I was in school. I studied from a government school, and till the time I graduated, I could not speak even a word of English. Every single teacher in my school and college said that I'm a failure. They actually called my parents and they said, you should not pay money for his fees, because I was not good at anything. And from there, I learned English. I work with a lot of companies. And today, I have trained more than 70,000 students, worked with a lot of companies. Today, I work with some of the biggest and best startups in the world. And what I'm trying to say is that if a very small, very normal, very, very below average person like me can do some good stuff, the most literate state from the country, Kerala, people like you who have so many brilliant ideas, I'm sure you will be able to make that next company which will solve problem not for the state, not for the country, but for the entire planet.